Yo, what's going on everyone? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another YouTube video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Shadow Prize. This has returned to us once again, and it's got some very spicy perks that are going to make it a PVE beast. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to talk about the weapon, what makes it special, what are some of the best perks that you can get on this weapon, and the ones you should be looking for if you're looking for a god rule on this weapon. And lastly, we're going to have a review where you just kind of talk about the weapon, just what I like, what I don't like, all that stuff. So first of all, let's talk about how to actually get this weapon. And you're going to be getting this weapon from doing the Nightfall or the Grandmaster Nightfall. If you decide to do normal Nightfalls, well, the higher in difficulty you get, the more likely you are to get a drop. And if you actually go in and tackle the Grandmaster, then you get a guaranteed drop at the end. And after you get a drop for the first time, you can head over to Svala and focus a normal one or an adept one if you have enough Vanguard ciphers. And that's how you're gonna get the Shadow Prize. So the Shadow Prize is a 450 RPM auto rifle, meaning that it's a precision frame, meaning it's got some pretty good and predictable recoil. It also comes with two different origin traits. The first one is Vanguard's Vindication. Final blows with this weapon grant you a small amount of health, so every time you kill something, you get a bit of health back. And then it also comes with Stunning Recovery. Every time you stun a champion, it refills the magazine, it gives you some health, and it also starts health recovery. So it actually does a lot of things if you actually stun the champion with the weapon. So both of these are going to be pretty good. This is going to mostly be a PvE auto rifle. I'm going to tell you straight up right now, there's not really any good PvP perks here. This is strictly going to be a PvE auto rifle, but it's going to be a damn good one, and you'll see why soon. But let's not waste any more time, let's get right into the perks. We're gonna stop by the barrels and the magazine real quick, and then we're gonna hit up the perks. So first of all, let's start off with the barrels. They're not really as important since it's a PvE weapon, but I would still say the best ones you could go for are either the arrowhead break or the fluted barrel. They both are gonna give you some pretty nice handling. You get 10 from arrowhead break and 15 from fluted, and it's just gonna make the weapon feel better in PvE, and that's pretty much what we're going for, just for the feel. Now for the magazine perk, this is what we have. We have accurate rounds, appended mag, tack mag, steady rounds, thread mag wool, extended mag, and lastly alloy magazine. And what you're looking for here is to extend our magazine, either extended mag, appended mag, or even something like tactical mag. Tactical mag would actually be my go-to if you're planning on going with bolt shot on this weapon. It gives you reload speed, it gives you magazine, and a bit of extra stability, although that doesn't really matter too much. But appended mag, tac mag, I think would be my go-tos. Appended will give you a bigger magazine without any drawbacks. But even extended mag is a pretty good choice if you don't mind the lost reload speed. All those three are going to be pretty good. And now let's move on to the main part of the video. Let's talk about some trade perks. And let's start with the first one. So this is what we have for the first perk. We have Surplus, Overflow, Stats Throw, Strategist, Attrition Orbs, and lastly Invisible Hand. So let's talk about the best ones, and the first one I want to talk about is Stats Throw. With Stats Throw, after hitting 3 separate targets, we get a bunch of increased stats. We get more handling, more stability, more reload speed, and even some more range. But the main ones we care about is the reload and the handling, and that's actually what we get the most of. We get 35 for both. This is just gonna make your weapon feel amazing in PvE, and works very well with some of the perks in the other slot, like One Furrow and also Bolt Shot. Those two are gonna make it so Stats Furrow is a top tier perk for this weapon. It's gonna be really nice. Next up we have Strategist. Final blows with this weapon generate class ability energy, and whenever we activate our class ability, we also get some stability. The second part of the perk doesn't really matter to us. The first part of the perk is really why you want to use this thing. It's basically Demolitionist, but for your class ability. So if you like using your class ability or your build relies a lot on your class ability, then Strategist can be an amazing perk for you since you're going to be having your class ability up more often. But even if you're not running a build that relies on class abilities, just having your class ability more often is really nice. So I would say that even if you are not running a build, a Strategist is still going to be a pretty top tier perk. So these two perks I think are going to be like the best ones for this column. These ones are the ones that you should be aiming for. But we also have other stuff like Overflow, which is going to double our magazine whenever we pick up special or heavy ammo. So if you have like a 40 round mag on this thing, it'll take it up to 80 whenever you pick up some special or heavy. That can be pretty okay, especially paired up with something like 1 for all, so you can really take advantage of that extra damage with 1 for all. But it also doesn't work with other perks like Bolt Shot. With Bolt Shot you want to be constantly reloading, and you can't really do that if your mag is constantly overflowed. With some perks, overflow's gonna work, some others it doesn't. It actually actively hurts them, so just be careful with overflow. Everything else in this slot is not really gonna be that great. That's pretty much the best things you can get on this perk column. And now let's move on and let's check out that second perk. Now this is what we have for the second perk. We are starting with 1 for all, Bolt Shot, Demolitionist, Gut Shot Straight, Surrounded, and lastly Permeability. So let's go from the top. Let's start off first by talking about 1 for all. So 1 for all is gonna be if you want a big consistent damage perk. 1 for all is 35% extra damage, and it activates simply by hitting 3 different enemies, which in PvE means that this thing is up pretty much all the time. It also pairs up perfectly with Stats for all. They have the same requirement, so once you hit 3 separate targets, you're gonna get all the handling, all the reload from Stats for all, as well as all the damage from 1 for all. It's gonna make the weapon feel really good, and it's also gonna be very effective thanks to that big boost to damage. So yeah, Stats for all, 1 for all is gonna be an amazing perk combo. If you're going for 1 for all, you definitely want to go for Stats for all as well. Next up we have Bolt Shot, and this is the reason why I was excited for the Shadow Price to return, because it has Bolt Shot. So when we reload after defeating a target, we're going to be able to jolt the next enemy we hit. Jolt is a crazy debuff, being able to add clear, being able to add damage to bigger enemies. Jolt is just amazing, and it's also going to make this weapon work very well with arc builds, especially ones that rely on Jolt. Like the one that you're seeing in the background, I'm running a Jolt blinding build with the Shadow Price, and it worked really well. Every time I jolted something, I essentially got damage resistance. So even without having to use any of my abilities, I was able to jolt things. So Bolt Shot is gonna be a top tier perk. It's good with a build, it's good without a build. Bolt Shot is just good in general. So definitely keep an eye out for Bolt Shot. I just hope that you don't get Bolt Shot with Overflow, because that's a really messed up perk combo. It really messes with each other. Next up we have Demolitionist. Whenever we get kills with this weapon, we get some grenade energy. This is gonna be pretty good. If you're in a grenade build especially, it's gonna be amazing. But even if you're not, it's still gonna make it, so we get our grenades back faster. So Demolitionist, I would say, is pretty good. I don't think it's on the level of Bolt Shot or 1 for all, but it's definitely a pretty good perk that I wouldn't mind getting a roll off. And the final perk that I want to take a look at on this weapon is gonna be Surrounded. Now Surrounded is a little bit more niche than let's say something like 1 for all, and it's also going to be harder to proc than 1 for all, but when you do have it procced, it is a much bigger damage buff. It's a 40% damage buff at base, and if you enhance it, it's going to be 45% damage buff, which is one of the highest damage buffs in the game. But the thing about it is that you do have to be surrounded, so you pretty much have to be always in the middle of all the action to really take advantage of Surrounded. So because of that, I'm gonna put Surrounded at more of a niche territory. It could work, and when it is working, you have an incredible damage buff, but when it's not, it doesn't do anything. So that's why for my damage buff, I still prefer 1 for all. So those 4 perks I think are gonna be the best ones in this column, but the best ones are definitely gonna be Bolt Shot or 1 for all, depending what you're trying to do with the weapon. Now let's talk about some god rules. This is gonna be the first one, Arrowhead Break with Appended Mag. Stats for all and 1 for all. This thing is going to be a beast. You're always going to have that extra damage. You're always going to have some crazy stats in this thing, meaning that it's always going to feel good. This is just going to be a good feeling weapon in PvE that puts in the work because of that increased damage. Now this is going to be the Bolt Shot rule right here. It's kind of similar but also different. We have Arrowhead Break. Now we have Tactical Mag, which doesn't add as much to our magazine, but we are going to get a bit of extra reload speed on it. And then of course we have Stats for all as well, giving us even more reload speed, so we should max it out by this point. And then of course we have the star of the show, Bolt Shot, doing all the great things Bolt Shot does. You could also replace Stats for all for Strategist if you want some more class ability energy. Strategist plus Bolt Shot is going to be another amazing role that's going to give you a ton of class ability energy back. So that's another role that you can run. And this last one right here, I like to call the regen everything rule. We have strategist plus demolitionist. So for every kill, we're gonna get class ability energy back, as well as grenade energy back. So every kill with this weapon just feeds a ton of energy to you. If you want a build that just spams abilities, then this might be what you want to go for. I don't know if there's many weapons in the game that can actually get this. This might be a bit of a one-of-a-kind situation type of thing. But those are the god rolls I think that you should be looking for. Let me know in the comments below what is the god roll that you're going to be hunting. And if you want to tell me about some perks that maybe I didn't mention, also tell me that in the comments below. Or maybe some perk combos that I didn't mention. Those two. But now, let's talk a little bit about the weapon and just kind of what I feel like. Not gonna lie, I'm a little sad that the weapon doesn't have any good PvP perks. That's why we're mostly talking about PvE. But when it comes to PvE, I really like the weapon. I feel like it's got some really good perk combos. I'm so glad that they added Bolt Shot to it. I was kind of worried that if they brought it back, it wasn't gonna have Bolt Shot and people were just gonna dismiss it. But thankfully, it's got Bolt Shot and on top of it, it's got some other really good perks. So I'm definitely very happy to see that the Shadow Price came back and it's a good weapon. But let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think about the Shadow Price? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? What is the god roll that you're going for? And any other thoughts that you have on the weapon. But with that, that's going to be the end of the video. Thank you all for stopping by today. And hopefully you guys have a good day. Peace.